What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside Bama Recruiting, a part of the Bama Standard Network. As you guys can see here, we got our, well, we'll say a recruiting expert on here, Brody Smoot. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, man, and getting on here.
Oh yeah, for sure. With recruiting season being in full effect, I'm just trying to stay on top of it. Appreciate you having me on.
Oh, no, of course. So, big news coming out of Tuscaloosa, obviously, as Javari Barnett has flipped his commitment from Illinois to Alabama, coming out of Tampa, Florida. 3-star rivals, I believe, and On Three have him as a 4-star, I believe, but a consensus 3-star is what he's listed as. Give us the lowdown on Javari, Brody.
Javari's a kid that Alabama's been interested in for a hot minute. They offered him back at the beginning of this year and have remained in contact with Javari. Especially Coach Robert Gillespie, the running backs coach for the Crimson Tide. But Alabama ideally would like to sign 1 to 2 running backs in this class. And Barnett was always a guy that they would be willing to take. He's had the green light to commit for a little while. Um, you know, Dating back to A-Day, he came for A-Day and then he made the trip to Tuscaloosa this past weekend. So, he's a guy that Alabama was, trying to get to flip from Illinois and ultimately, this weekend sealed the deal. You're talking about a kid that's almost 6 foot tall, 205 pounds, kind of a downhill back, kind of similar, kind of reminds me of like Justice Haynes in terms of stature. But this is a guy that Alabama's really liked for quite a while, and to get him on board, that's certainly a huge win on the recruiting trail for Alabama. Especially with another running back, 5-star running back, Xavier Crowell, set to announce his commitment this weekend as well. So, by the end of this week, Alabama could have commitments from 2 running backs in the 2026 recruiting class. And, it's always good to have, commitments before the start of the season. And, I envision Alabama finishing out the week with Barnett and Crowell in their class.
No doubt. And there are 2 also committing today as well. I know Kamari Brooks is the other, I can't remember the tight end's name off the top of my head. But in both of those guys, I actually have, I guess it was, oh my gosh, Voss. I can't. He's committing today between Alabama and Minnesota. I have him as a Minnesota lean. Kamari Brooks, I know, is between Alabama and Georgia. I have him as a Georgia lean. Your thoughts on that, real quick? Kind of similar, or no?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jonathan. I think that Brooks is ultimately going to end up in Athens.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of interest on both sides, but ultimately the fact that he's, 20 minutes or less from home
Yep.
played a huge factor in that. So I think that Brooks ends up committing to Georgia this evening. And then as far as Voss is concerned, I think that Alabama, they were able to cover some significant ground, well, not significant ground. They were just able to, I guess, set the tone or set the bar high rather for
Yeah.
Max Sutter, the kid out of Illinois. So I think that Alabama, they will end up with Sutter this week. But as far as Voss is concerned, he will end up at Minnesota. He will be the feature player in their class.
No doubt. And look, the guy's from Minnesota, so you know what I mean. And the way I look at it, by the way, guys, both Xavier Crowell and Max Sutter here, both of them actually have a commitment on June 26th here in the next couple of days, like Brody just pointed out. So, yeah, so we could end up with both our running backs this coming week, obviously ending up with Sutter, our tight end in that class, pairing him with Caleb Edwards, who we got last year, who I think is great, and all that good stuff. But any other information before we get off here when it comes to recruiting, Brody?
I will say that Zay Hall, the 3-star linebacker out of Hillcrest High School in Tuscaloosa, that he's down to 2 schools and that Alabama is one of
Yep.
them. So you could see some movement there relatively soon. Owen Cabell, he's got a commitment date for June 30th. Alabama's trending there. So, it's definitely going to be a time that Alabama, the coaching staff and people behind the scenes are hard at work, even though it's about to be the dead period. So I think it's going to be a huge end of June and a huge month of July for the Crimson Tide on the recruiting trail.
No doubt. So, all right, guys, leave in the comments below what you guys think about that. Kamari Brooks, all that situation. What you guys think about the Barnett flip? and anything you guys want to see when it comes to recruiting moving in the future. And obviously make sure to hit up Brody, give him your information when it comes to X and all that.
Yes, you guys can find me on X at Brody Smoot. Feel free to reach out. Whether it be on DM or any other kind of form of social media. But yeah, you can find me on all platforms at Brody Smoot. So yeah, there's that.
And all his information will be in the description below, clickable links to Twitter, all that good stuff. So yeah. All right, Brody, appreciate you getting on here. And as always, guys,
roll down tide.